Hello and welcome back to the show, the Nerdiest Podcast, the podcast where nerds talk about nerdy things. I'm your host, Mr. Nick Barrett, and as always, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, Mr. Jackson Glass. How are you doing today, sir?
You know, I'm doing good. I think this is one of those coffee days for me. I have my golden since 1985. It's faded, so I couldn't read what it said. I have my Golden Girls mug here. I have my Star Wars water bottle. This is not the one I bought at Galaxy's Edge because I dropped the one I bought at Galaxy's Edge and the lid shattered. And I have all the pieces for the lid and I can glue it together because they all fit. But that I just need to go get some glue. I also
Wait, what was the lid made out of?
It was plastic.
What was it made out of?
It was like a plastic lid. And then
that's your first mistake. You gotta get these water bottles that have the really nice.
When you're in Galaxy's Edge, you get caught up in the moment of consumerism, and you're just like, "That's a nice water bottle."
I should have taught you that while you're at Disney, you don't buy Disney water bottles unless they're like the stainless steel. Like I have a Tomorrowland one, like of the People Mover.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those. It's basically a mini Hydro Flask, is what it is. And that's a good one, but I don't buy any of like the plastic.
But my problem is,
they'll break.
I love water bottles where I can see in it. I want to know what's going on in there because I had one of the tin ones and it got really gross and I didn't know till way too late because I couldn't see inside it.
I mean, I just clean mine once a week.
I saw this on
pretty simple.
I saw this on the internet. The best way to clean water bottles is to get baby bottle sterilizing tablets like at Target, and then it like you fill it with water. It works like an Alka-Seltzer. Like it just like kills all the bacteria in it. It's like, dang.
I should look into that because it's really hard. It's really hard to clean my water bottle because I have all the stickers on the outside. And if it gets too wet, then the stickers will peel off. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have to like be selective and be careful of how much like I put water on the outside. So I might have to look into that.
It was on TikTok, so I know it works.
And see how it works. Oh, well, if it's on TikTok, then obviously...
Which you can follow us on TikTok.
You can at the Nerdiest Podcast. We have some exclusive Disney TikTok. Just kidding, they're not exclusive. They'll be on Instagram eventually, but they will be out on TikTok first. So you should go there. Now, speaking of Disney, we are going to be talking about our day at Hollywood Studios.
Yep.
But that will be at the end of the podcast. So we're gonna go ahead and do our weekly recap, news, hot take.
What we've been watching,
main topic everything. Of like what movies we've been watching, and then after that, if you want to leave and you don't care about Disney, I mean, I feel like you're missing out.
I'm not here to peer pressure you into listeing, but
right,
the
I'm
cool
not here to
kids
peer
are going to listen to it. So
yeah, so if you want to leave, you can, but if you want to stay and listen to us talk about it, go right ahead. It'll be there. So it'll be at the end instead of thrown in the middle. Yeah. So speaking of which, how has your week been?
I kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's good. I think the weather is starting to warm up, and I think winter is my favorite season out of the whole year, and I stand by that. But near the end, like right when that spring comes in, you're like, oh, okay, I'm happy again. So like that's like,
oh, this is what wearing short sleeves feels like.
Oh, and it's like, it's a special moment when you're wearing a sweater and then you're like, oh, it's kind of warm in here. And you're like, oh, it's like the middle of March. I can like, but, oh my gosh. The weather is finally changing. It's, I don't know. It's a special moment when you get to take off your sweater in the middle of March and you're like, I don't have to put it back on. Like, it's just warm now. And we're in a weird spot where like between winter and COVID, it's like, it's like, am I gonna lose this weight? Let's be real. You're like, I can't hide behind my big sweater anymore. Is this weight coming back off? I can't hide behind my big sweater anymore. So we'll see. If you have enough confidence, you can do anything.
That's true.
That's about it. Nothing super exciting is going on. What about you?
Hold on, I'm zipping up this pretzel bag, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I know there are some people. Literally, I think it was that episode of the podcast way back. I think it was the holiday or the Christmas one we did, the first Christmas episode we did. Remember when we were like seeing how many mints we could eat on the podcast? Someone messaged me after that episode and said, "Don't ever eat on the podcast again."
I remember.
It was like a very threatening, like, don't you
ever do that
eat
again
on the podcast again. The guy who sent it to me, great guy. Like, we're friends. He's a great guy. But it was just like that one message where he was like, "Don't ever eat on the podcast again." And I was like, "Whoa,
there, brother. Okay.
I won't."
That was an iconic episode.
So, yeah. So I've been super conscious about that. But my week, well, first of all, I got my car back, so that's exciting. Between the last episode and this one, as listeners will remember, earlier this year I got rear-ended. Yeah. So I had to send my car into the shop and get fixed. So I got it back, which was an emotional experience, by the way. I didn't cry, but like I got in my car and I just kind of took one of those like deep breaths and then sat there and I was just listening to music. I played the Throne Room theme by John Williams from the end of A New Hope, like as that victorious, like triumphant. And right as I pulled out of the auto shop, the theme played, like the dun 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 dun, right as I was leaving, and I was like, beautiful.
And that's when you get T-boned right out of the.
Yeah, that's when I get just bam. Like the car people are watching me leave, and they just see me get T-boned. They're like, oh.
They're like doing the queen wave as you leave, and then they're just. Bam. That's a Looney Tunes level comedy.
Some of the only interesting things that happened this week was last weekend, as of the time of recording this, which is the Friday before it comes out. But last weekend I got to go do a film shoot for the Christian Filmmakers Club at my school.
Let's go.
So we got to go out. It was super cool because it wasn't at school. It was my first like on location shoot. So I got to go out to this. Well, y'all know I live in Florida, but we went to a park. It's about 40 minutes from where I live, and I kid you not, as I was driving by, I had to question: did I just get to the beach in 40 minutes? Which is good because the script is set on a beach. So, but like the director was like, "Yeah, I don't really want you guys driving 2 hours. Like that's not realistic and reasonable for you coming out on this non-paid thing."
Yeah.
So the location was really nice. I will say it was cold as frick because it thunderstormed the night or 2 days before. So it was like 50 degrees when I got there. All I was wearing was a long sleeve shirt and a jacket. I was freezing. And I had to do boom op. So
you had to stand still.
My hands were exposed. Well, not stand still, but my hands were exposed.
That's great.
So it was really only bad till like noon. And then once the sun came up, it, averaged out and got fine. I had a lot of fun with that shoot, though. A lot of fun people on there. I will probably promote the short film once it comes out. June 28th is the date.
Let's go. Let's go.
So it'll be a hot minute, but I'm excited.
Is it bad that when you say Christian Filmmakers Club, the only thing I can think of is like, we watched The Chosen once, and I think we can do better. So let's go.
I watched God's Not Dead. I can do better. Well, I feel like that's a really low bar.
Literally, everything we've done is better than God's Not Dead. That's an awful movie.
watched VeggieTales. I can do better. It's like, that's a better bar to have set. Is you can do better than VeggieTales. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
The other interesting thing that happened this week, one, I'm now a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber with the expansion pack. And I only say that because I swear out of some kind of karmic divine intervention, like 20 minutes after I bought the expansion pass, I made like the gut decision to do it. I was scrolling on my phone and the Weather Channel widget had turned red and it went tornado warning. And I was like, oh, I'm going to die.
God didn't want me to do
this. So this is not the right decision. So I ended up sleeping in my closet that night because I wanted to go to bed, but the tornado warning wasn't going to expire till like 1 a.m. And I was like, it's 11. I want to go to bed. I have class in the morning.
You know how
So I literally pulled one of the cushions off my couch, grabbed pillows off my bed, grabbed a blanket, brought my all my cords and stuff in so I could sit on my phone, and I slept in the closet. which was an interesting experience.
The amount of growing up, the amount of like random tornado warnings we had compared to the amount of tornadoes is actually comical. Because the amount of times I can remember tornado damage was maybe twice. And the amount of times that I remember being hiding in the closet from a tornado has to have been in the upper tens. So
right, like they always tell you, like, and I mean my family. Well,
like better safe than sorry, but
not
like
my mom. My grandparents were always the type of people that get super anxious about it. So when there was like a severe thunderstorm warning, they were like, "We're hiding in the closet." Meanwhile, my mom is like, "It's just a normal afternoon thunderstorm. Like, well, the winds are a little higher than normal, but it's fine."
We need to move on. But I will say, if you see enough tornadoes in your life, you know when they're coming. Because you're like, the sky is starting to turn green. Guys, this isn't good. So,
I was always taught that tornadoes sound like trains. So now, instinctively, when I hear trains, I think, is that a tornado?
Thomas,
it's completely clear blue sky.
Thomas the tornado? What?
Thomas the train-nado? Can't wait to see that film.
Michael Bay, call us.
Moving on, we're going to briefly dive through the nerdiest news, which... What's interesting is, like, 50% of the news is just all the new trailers that have dropped. Like, between now and the last episode. We got a Kenobi trailer, which I did a TikTok reaction on, and it looks great. I'm not going to over-elaborate too much about it, other than the fact that it looks great. Can't wait for Kenobi.
Yeah.
Really hope it's better than Book of Boba Fett. And my personal opinion is we don't need a second Kenobi trailer. I think we should only get the one, because it's a 6-episode... limited series, which of course they're saying it's a limited series, but Kathleen Kennedy is already talking about a season 2, and I'm like, okay, first of all, saying that there's a season 2 implies that there's very low stakes for everyone. Now, granted, we all know Obi-Wan's gonna live, he's not gonna die, but low stakes for other people in the series, which I don't like. So but yeah, it looks pretty dope. What do you think about the Kenobi trailer?
I watched it. Like, it released right as I was about to go into work, so I got to watch it in the car, and I was just, like, screaming the whole time. But in, like, it was, like, the, oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Because, like, when he, like, takes down those binoculars, and, like, you see his face, you're like, he's back! He's back! And I think...
There's something about the nostalgia associated with Ewan McGregor.
I think he, like, just as an actor, is going to thrive in this show, just because like he's been very vocal about how excited he is to go back into the character, which is so cool. And I think that if we hype responsibly, don't overset the expectation, but as long as we do that and the show doesn't suck, it'll be great. But I feel like
Star Wars fans are not the ones to tell the hype responsibly.
No, but also if they ruin Kenobi, they've lost the Star Wars fandom trust forever.
No, it's so true though. If they screw up Kenobi, all that good work they did with the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian, and all that good faith, goodwill they put in, you're not gonna get it back.
Who's working on Kenobi? Like, have they said directors and what?
Deborah Chow, I think, is the lead director. Which she did episode 3 of The Mandalorian, I think.
Okay.
I wonder which episode 3 was one episode I really liked.
Because like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau have been super invested in Star Wars recently, but I know that like between Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Kenobi, like I don't know if they can be over everything.
Mandalorian season 3 actually just wrapped.
Really?
Filming, I think.
Interesting.
I think they're in post-production now.
We're talking about Disney later. What did that guy's shirt say at Hollywood Studios?
Oh, the guy at Hollywood Studios. It was like, I trust Dave Filoni.
Yeah, it was like it had an AT-AT, and he was like.
Also, that family right there, that is goals, because the dad was wearing an I Trust Dave Filoni shirt. I don't remember if he had a son or a daughter, but like the kid was wearing Mando merch, and then the mom was all decked out. She had like the Ahsoka ears, the Ahsoka loungefly, an Ahsoka shirt, Ahsoka earrings. Like she was all decked out. And I saw it and I leaned over to Jackson and I was like, I should tell Megan this is the standard.
This is my
this is my expectation. When I say what's the Bible verse where they're like, I want a blank number wife? Yeah, that's me. Is it Proverbs 31?
Yeah, I want a Proverbs 31 woman. That's what
I
they
want a
say.
Proverbs 31 woman. That's what I was talking about. All decked out in the Ahsoka.
Move on.
Yes.
Move on.
Moving on. There's a new trailer for Sonic, and
Big hype.
tickets went live. A movie that I am extraordinarily hyped for.
Yeah.
I already bought my tickets. I'm actually going to see it April 6th, so 2 days early, in 4DX. I'm very excited.
Make you feel like you're going fast.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? I'm going to see it on the 6th, and I think I'm going to see it on the 8th again with some friends. I tried to convince them to go on the 6th, but they were like, no, we want to go on the 8th. And I was like, okay, I'll
fine.
come see it again.
Be that
I won't
way.
spoil anything, but I'll come see it again.
I think I just want to mention this for a hot second. Please don't talk about this for hours. Can we talk about how the Sonic 2 media team knows exactly what they're doing, and how movie promotions the last, I guess, year have just been awful. Like, just awful. But Sonic 2 is the perfect, their social medias are the perfect balance of like playing into the meme and jokes culture without being very how do you do, fellow kids. And I don't know how they did it, but they're killing it. Big props to them.
No, they are. I really love what they're doing. I don't know how they mastered it, but they've knocked it out of the park, honestly. Like, and what's so crazy is you have movies like No Way Home, which is a multi-billion-dollar operation, had some of the worst posters I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But the Sonic team, like, they're cranking out these fire posters, at least like 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah.
And they just look so good. I'm so excited for the movie. I'm trying to hype responsibly, but it's hard. Because this is my most anticipated movie of the entire year.
I think...
so it's like... It's kind of hard to hype responsibly.
I saw this on Twitter. I wish I could credit it, but I didn't know who it was.
No, it comes from Twitter.
And it was a whole... Okay, cool. It was a whole thread about how inflation is killing the movie industry. And it used No Way Home as an example where they're like, this movie had a $200 million budget. And they like, look at these posters. And they're like, look at this and look at that. And of course, a million different things go into that. But it's like, are they wrong? $200 million is a lot of money. $200 million.
It is a lot of money, but I feel like once you get up that far, like they could have thrown $1 billion at that movie and it's still like, I don't think much would have changed. Because, I mean, honestly, $200 million, that's on the low end. Like there are some Marvel shows that cost $200 million to make. So $200 million is the low end.
Yeah. I don't know. I
don't know. I think that I see what
I've seen some of the shots in that movie, and I love that movie. I'm going to talk about it in a second. But some of the lighting in that movie, I'm like, I would not have guessed this was a $200 million movie. Like when Doctor Strange is standing by that fireplace, the lighting on him is awful. Like that's the key one that I noticed because I saw it in the theater for a third time yesterday. Still think it's an amazing movie. Still love that movie. You suck, but I still think that's an amazing movie. You're not wrong. But I just see some of the things that, like, some of the little nitpicky things that don't matter. But I'm also thinking, how much money do you have to throw? I'm just saying movies that have way less money have done better, and I think that's an issue.
You're not wrong.
So and
next up,
on the Marvel topic, Disney Plus added parental controls so that they could use Marvel shows from Netflix like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and like Iron Fist?
It's Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, Iron Fist, and the Defenders. The 5, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not a Netflix Marvel show. It was on ABC. Mm-hmm. I only say that because I watched it air live when I was like 10. But yeah, they added those new parental controls, and for some reason, there are parents who are like up in arms about like, well, how dare you add TVMA stuff to Disney Plus? My kids aren't safe. And I'm like, they literally added a pin system to your account, so your kid cannot get into your account to watch the TVMA stuff. It will take you 5 seconds to install this pin so that your kid can't get on your account. It's not that hard.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, it's more of this like fake outrage about like, oh, well, you know, how dare you add mature stuff. It's like, which them adding this mature stuff, one, should be a big deal because this is the first time a Netflix original series has been on a platform other than Netflix, at least to my knowledge. And two, this further confirms my theory that Hulu will eventually be rolled into Disney Plus, which ironically enough rolls into the next news topic of Discovery Plus is being rolled into HBO Max. Which we predicted this.
We did. We said this a while ago. We said
where we were like, the streaming services need to just all die and fold back in on one another.
Well, also,
which is exactly what's happening right now.
Growing up, and this is gonna make me sound really young, but I don't care because I am very young. The streaming giants were Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Not like Amazon Prime was still like kind of a baby. That's what you watched. But then when Disney Plus released, it almost flipped and then did insanely well. It almost flipped a switch that said, hey, anyone can make a streaming service. And so I think a lot of companies saw that as like a business opportunity, and the world is just moving towards streaming. And it just became like, oh, Disney made a streaming service. We can make a streaming service. So now there's like 30 different streaming services that are awful because they were just like cranked out for money. I've talked about how awful Paramount Plus is before. It is so glitchy, and there's like no hope for fixing it because they're just like, all right, here you go. Here's maybe some originals. I don't know. Just like they're not fixing it. And so I think as the years go on, we're going to see this more. And hey, good for HBO Max, honestly. Like the fact that now they have, like, HBO Max already became a giant with all their movie selections, and now you can watch Food Network on there. Come on.
What's crazy is HBO Max like started out as this, oh, it's such a cash grab like the rest of them, but it really actually is like an actual streaming service. Like, the ones that definitely feel like cash grabs are Peacock and Paramount Plus, and I think those two are the
Discovery
next to
Plus
fall.
felt like that
because
to me.
Discovery Plus was another one of those like cash grabby, like, oh, but I think Paramount Plus and Peacock will eventually realize, oh, the only reason you're subscribing to this is to watch The Office or Parks and Rec or, you know, the Halo series, which we're going to talk about in a second. So I think those two, honestly, if HBO is smart, they'll work with them and snatch up those two.
Yeah.
Because even if they could take Paramount and fold Paramount into, which I don't think they will, because HBO is a sister company of Warner Bros. And Warner Bros. Is a competitor to Paramount. So I don't think those two would go together very well. So if anything, I would say Paramount Plus would probably fold into Netflix, and Peacock could fold either back into Netflix with The Office and stuff, or HBO Max.
But also
probably HBO Max. That would increase the value so much.
Well, I think Netflix is kind of different in the sense of like they're not gonna change. Where if Netflix absorbed Peacock, there wouldn't be a Peacock section of Netflix. It would just be those shows are on Netflix now. Whereas you compare that to Disney Plus and Hulu, where in a couple years Disney Plus will fully own Hulu, and I think they're still going to be kind of separate because the shows aren't the same. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this unfolds. I think it'll just time will tell, and I think this is a good move because having 800 different streaming services on your pay is just is so frustrating. And it's like, I just want to watch Parks and Rec. Just please let me watch Parks and Rec.
And I will say, speaking of mergers, real quick before we move on, a good merger that just happened is Funimation and Crunchyroll just fused together, which honestly is something that should have happened years ago. But I think they finished the acquisition of Crunchyroll last March. And then this year, like I want to say like a month or so ago now, they announced they were fusing the Funimation and Crunchyroll together into the Crunchyroll app. And I was a Verve subscriber, and that's how I was getting Crunchyroll and all this other anime. But honestly, them putting those two libraries together, now there's a bunch of dubs I never had access to. There's a bunch of shows that were Funimation exclusive that I never had access to. And, well, I got Crunchyroll Premium free for 2 months because I was a Verve Premium member, but it's also the same price as Verve, and I'm getting like double the content. So I think that was a good move on their part. But moving on, speaking of Paramount Plus, the Halo series comes out, I think, this month, next week, I think. I don't know. I don't want to speak ignorantly about that.
I haven't been following, so
I kind of want to get Paramount Plus just to watch the Halo show. Like once it finishes, like if they're doing weekly airing, I'll wait until it finishes, get the free trial, binge it, and then never go back. But something that came out, a quote that came out, which really should have you worried, and this will kind of bleed into another topic, is from the showrunner of the Halo series. This is a quote. "We didn't look at the game. We didn't talk about the game. We talked about the characters and the world, so I never felt limited by it being a game." So what that means, and the way I'd see that, is they wanted to make a Master Chief show, but didn't play the Halo games or do any research whatsoever on the game you're turning into a show, which is a bad thing, because when you're making adaptations, it's very important to remain faithful to the source, like the source material, because the people who are watching your show are Halo fans. It's not the random people who are subscribed to Paramount. It's Halo fans who are watching your show. So I don't know. That just it feels like a very big red flag to me.
I think there needs to be a line, but you need to think about like, why are video game adaptations usually so bad? And it's like, once you take the playability out of a game, it like you're just watching it, it's so different. You can't make your own decisions. It's whatever the showrunners decided. But I also think if Halo is going to be one of those series that's like a better series to make out of a show, because it does have a story that you have less decisions, as if like the difference is if they tried to make a movie of like Breath of the Wild, like there's too many different scenarios to throw in there, where Halo is like a level based, like, oh, this could be a scene and this could be a scene. But it also sounds like if they didn't look at any of the games, is this going to just be a Halo series that takes place in the Halo world? Like, are you going to have Master Chief or Cortana? Because if you do, those characters are going to suck, because they didn't look at any of the source material.
Right. And, I mean, to make a comparison, like, the Sonic team, like, the director did a ton of research into the games. Jim Carrey did a ton of research into the game. Idris Elba did a ton of Knuckles research before playing Knuckles. That's how you do video game.
That's just a voice actor,
look
too.
How highly regarded. Right. That's not even, like, they have no creative control over the script or anything. And, like, they're doing all this research. So when you do adaptations like that, that's why Sonic is held in such a high regard as a video game movie adaptation, is because they did the research. They have the references, but it's not overbearingly like, oh my gosh, that's the Green Hill Zone theme, or like all this stuff. It is a Sonic movie for Sonic fans, but it also caters to that audience. Now, to play devil's advocate for the Halo series, I think people like me who are familiar with Halo but have never been into the lore or anything, that's the people they're targeting. If they're not looking at the games at all, they're looking at people like me who know who Master Chief is, but also are not like, well, Cortana's actually this shade of blue, not that shade of blue. First of all, how dare you do that to Cortana? Like, I don't think that's the people they're targeting, which I think is wrong, because you should be targeting the people who
really love Halo.
Yeah, really love Halo. So
there you go.
That's all I got for the news.
You got through the news and my hot take.
Yeah, my hot take was that Sonic is one of the best video game adaptations. If you want to fight me on that, the DMs are open. on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast.
Yeah, we officially named him the DM guy. So
triple dog dare. So,
all right,
main topic.
What have we been watching?
You want to go back and forth, or you kind of want to let this go
naturally?
We'll
go back and forth. Because I have some things to say
Do you want to talk about the two big movies first?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Since they're the newest.
I want to talk about Turning Red first.
So I don't know if it was it was kind of more me, but had very low expectations for Turning Red.
Yeah.
And me.
Don't say we/me. Just say me. Because I said, does it look amazing? I don't know, but I trust Pixar. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What I'll say is me. Sorry, I had to take a second to catch myself there. I was really skeptical going into this movie. I had not watched any. I'd watched like the one trailer that they kept playing in the theater, and that's it. And I come on to make a correction on what I said. It turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to.
This is an apology video.
And I was also significantly surprised by how good it was. I will say, I think this is one of the most beautifully animated movies Pixar has ever made.
Mm-hmm.
There was that one scene I sent you on Marco Polo of the dad at the very beginning cooking the food, and like how extra and stylized that was. And there were also some other scenes like when she's drawing under the bed, and like I will say there was a lot of use of dynamic lighting, especially within that red, pink, orange like color palette. Yeah. And I really liked that. It felt like not an anime Pixar movie, but like stylized animation. And that really helped set it apart from, the Cars movies or Toy Story or Luca or Soul, like even the more recent ones. All of the recent Pixar movies have felt individualistic, which is a good thing. So I think that's what I have to say.
What I'll say about the animation style is one of my biggest pet peeves with animation, and this is less of a pet peeve and more of like a style I don't like, is I hate when animation is exaggerated. Now that's kind of a hot take because a lot of people love that style. That's why I don't like new episodes of SpongeBob, because the littlest motions are like so insanely exaggerated that it just feels stupid. Like Hotel Transylvania, the last two Hotel Transylvania movies did that, and I thought it was stupid. Yeah. And so as someone who's not a fan of that style, there were moments in Turning Red where I was like, okay, but that's such an opinionative thing, and I can look past that just from an opinion, and I think this is a really good movie. I think it's weird to say that it didn't feel as magical as other Pixar movies, because it's literally about the girl that turns into a red panda. But
that's true.
What I will say is, if you compare it to a movie like Inside Out, where they're like, oh, we're going on this grandiose adventure through like her brain to like do all this, and it's like super big and dramatic, and they like lose, like he falls into the pit and it's all this, or like Up, where it's like this huge adventure through the jungle and the mountains, but this one had that magical aspect and then was like, okay, we're in Toronto, like we're staying in Toronto,
we're in Canada.
And it was, you could compare it to Encanto in the way that they didn't go on a grandiose journey, but Encanto had the magical house, and so it was like magic in every scene, where this one was like, yeah, she's a panda, but she's just like talking to her friends. And I really she's a
normal girl in a normal world.
It's just, I really like this direction. They did something similar with Luca, where they were like, yeah, he's a fish, but like he's just in Italy trying to get a moped. And I think like these stories are so unique compared to the loop that they kind of got in of like, we have to go on a grand adventure across the country or the world to make a good movie, because you don't. And I really like this direction that they're going.
I will say my favorite part about these movies is Makes me wish these places were real. I wish New York City from Seoul was real. You know, I wish Italy was real. Now I wish Toronto was real.
You know,
Pixar just has a knack for really, making these great fictional worlds.
Maybe
because none of those places are real.
I mean, maybe there will be a Toronto section at Epcot, and then you can feel like you're real.
Who's to say we don't get a Toronto themed section?
I'm just saying.
I will say, the most unrealistic part of Turning Red for me, the part that kind of like sucked me out, was when her mom turned into like this giant 200-foot kaiju panda. And I was like, I mean, there was the dad like saying she was really like big and like monstrous when she was a panda, but at the same time, like, I didn't think he meant
literally
Godzilla-esque. Like, I thought he meant like she was a lot more fierce than everyone else.
It's near the end when it falls a little bit more into that Toy Story 3 like grand finale, but I don't think it's necessarily awful. Like it.
And also, I kind of felt like they broke their own magic system because they inferred at the beginning of the movie, like, if you mess up the ritual, it can never be done again.
Yeah.
And, like, oh no. And then the mom's just breaks accidentally. And then the sisters and the grandmother just, like, break their own willingly. And then they can just go back to sealing it up. And I'm like, I feel like you're, like, it's kind of like one of those cliche, like, clean up, happy ending type things. Because, like,
but what are they going to do? All be pandas at the end? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It felt like a Deus Ex Machina type thing. But other than that, I thought it was a really
It felt like a what?
Deus Ex Machina? Have you never heard of that?
No.
No. Hold on. Start talking about the next movie. I'm going to look up Deus Ex Machina.
Okay.
So I can explain
I was like, what the frick? So,
never mind. I found that the definition. Deus Ex Machina is a plot device whereby a seemingly unsolvable problem in a story is suddenly and abruptly resolved by an unexpected and unlikely occurrence.
There's a word for that?
So, yeah, it's called a Deus Ex Machina. So
spell it.
The grandmother and the sister and the aunts being able to, like, go into their panda forms and then go back with no consequences other than, oh, our jewelry container devices are different, I considered a Deus Ex Machina. Because they set up this problem of the mom being the giant panda with seemingly no way to turn her back, because they were like, oh, if you mess up the thing, then it's over. Like, oh boy.
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
You'll
spell that.
So we're gonna talk about the Batman.
The Batman,
which seemingly has no Deus Ex Machinas. That's going in the description, by the way. Jackson doesn't know what a Deus Ex Machina is.
No one. I don't think that's common knowledge.
No, it is. Among people who watch movies, my mom would know what a Deus Ex Machina is.
I thought that was an anime thing. Usually when you say nonsense, it's an anime, but... No.
Deus Ex Machina is not an anime thing. However,
I'm 6 episodes.
Commonly.
I'm 6 episodes into Deus Ex Machina. It's so good.
It does kind of sound like an anime title, not gonna lie. I will say Deus Ex Machinas are often conveniently placed in anime.
Okay, anyway.
The Batman.
So the Batman. General thoughts.
Anime.
General thoughts.
General thoughts? A lot better than I thought. Now, hot take, do I think it's the best Batman movie? No, I think the Lego Batman movie is the best Batman movie. But this does come in as a very close second or third. Because as someone who's never really been, like, crazily into Batman, this was a relatively followable story.
Yeah.
because it doesn't do that traditional, like, we're going to start out the movie with this cringy look at how Martha and Thomas Wayne were murdered, and this is why Batman is Batman. Like, it was like, Batman has been Batman for 2 years, and the opening scene where it's just, like, that theme playing, which has been stuck in my head all week, and, like, where he's talking about, like, how they see the bat signal and they're scared because they know I'm out. I don't even have to be around them. But just the fact that the bat signal is up and I could be out of the cave terrifies everyone in Gotham. That set the tone. And also it was the use of, like, having that blank space, that, like, pitch black blank space in almost every frame, or at least the important ones where you're like, is Batman in there? Is he going to walk out of there and, like, beat these guys up? Like, what's going on? And I'm not going to lie. I was genuinely kind of scared of Robert Pattinson's Batman. Like, he is a very terrifying Batman. Because there was, like, I think it was the street thugs at the beginning who were, like, at the subway station. He beats those guys.
Okay, I just want to,
like,
I wanted to point this out.
Genuinely beats them.
I wanted to point this out. The funniest thing to me about this movie, and there are parts where I legitimately started laughing, not, like, this isn't a dig, I think this is, like, kind of hilarious, is, like, the way that he's like, I'm gonna defend Gotham. And he does that by beating the living daylight out of anyone he sees on the street. So it's like, you robbed a convenience store.
I love the memes on TikTok that are like, when you take your first drink but you're underage, and then it's like the lights and the Batmobile comes up behind you.
I like that. My favorite
like, oh no!
My favorite is, like, you're swimming in Gotham and he, like, dives, and then Batman, like, pulls him out of the pool by his throat, and he's like, no diving. It's
the same energy as the you committed a crime after Gwen Stacy died.
Yeah.
And it's like no. And he's like, it's Spider-Man coming to get you. And I was like, oh.
So funny. I think, so I walked into the Batman with very little expectations. Like, I legitimately, the only Batman movie I've seen is Lego Batman. Like, I was never really cared. Not in, like, a pretentious, I only watch MCU movies, but in, like, I never just was interested.
I need to get you to watch the Nolan trilogy.
The Christopher Nolan ones look good.
Trilogy.
Those are the ones I watch.
We need to watch that.
And
we need to do that.
But I was pleasantly surprised. I think as I processed it a little more, I realized how much I really liked it. It's probably the best movie I've seen that came out this year. My only, like,
I mean,
yeah. But I think Robert Pattinson did such a good job. Like, I was kind of surprised because, like, I hate that Twilight has, like, tainted his career, where we're surprised when he's good. That's so sad. But, like, he did a great job. Yeah, I thought he killed it. And, like you said, there were some legitimately scary moments that I actually kind of liked. My only gripe is, I understand the Batman is a dark movie. And I understand the lighting has to be dark. But I got tired like 2 hours in, because it's like a 3-hour movie. 2 hours in, and it's still like there's no visual stimulation. And so 2 hours in, I was like, okay, come on. I can watch this.
There was a point, I want to say it was like an hour and a half in, so halfway, where the story was like taking that it was a natural lull, but it was a lull nonetheless. And I like genuinely started nodding off. I was like, no, come on, I'm going to miss something. Because one of my favorite parts of the movie is the Riddler. Because it's actually like an engaging, he's not like, I'm going to rob this convenience store, Batman. Get me.
John Mulaney.
You can say that over the phone, Batman, but if you were here in person, I'd pound you to a pulp. Start pounding, Joker. Like, it's not.
Yeah, it's
not
corny.
That kind of Batman movie. It's the Riddler was very much like, here's a riddle. Here, I'm going to expose your parents for the scumbags that they are.
And it turned it into a mystery movie.
That guy, the Falcone guy, it was really hard to look at him and see him as anyone else other than the guy from that Transformers movie. Every time he came on screen, he was in the... You haven't seen the Transformers movie, so you don't get it. But he was in the first two, or maybe, I think he was in the third one too. But he plays like this ex-government agent who was like a conspiracy theorist and stuff, and he's like this really crazy guy in the movie. So to see him really reined in for a mob boss in Batman was kind of weird, because I've never seen him in anything else
hilarious.
other than Transformers. So
one more thing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good.
One more thing I want to say about the color. One, shooting in low light is very difficult. So for what it is, they did a great job. I just it's just hard to, when it's not as visually engaging. Now, part of this is my stupid TikTok brain is like, where's the color? I'm falling asleep. But what was interesting is when I went to the movie theater yesterday, I saw Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home has been out of theaters for a very long time, but my theater's still playing it for whatever reason. All the trailers were for movies that had already been released. I saw trailers for Moonfall. All right, and then there was a trailer for The Batman. And watching that trailer, after seeing the movie, the trailer was a lot brighter than the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, did we just get catfished?
They definitely color graded it different.
For the trailer. And it makes sense. I'm not mad. I just think I've never seen this before. I think it was they wanted to display it in a way that makes you want to go see it, and then they're like, all right, I know.
Now here's the
real movie, and the real movie is really great, but I've never seen that before. I think that's really interesting.
I think something that is really interesting. Well, first of all, no movie has ever made me want to get a Lego set and go play on the floor with it, much like that Batmobile chase. Really made me want to be a kid and just go sit on the floor and go.
Yeah.
With a Lego Batmobile, oh, that chase, so good. But I think my other two favorite scenes is the one where he's in the dark fighting those guys.
Oh, and you can only see
lighting
the light
up the screen
is the gun.
is the gunshots. Oh,
and it's framed really good,
so good,
down the hallway.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Which I'm gonna have to send it to you. I did a shot like that in a stop motion animation years ago.
Gosh.
I did that shot. So Matt Reeves, I want some credit for doing that. No, you're gonna have to cut this out, and I'll send you the clip, and you can make a reel out of it, so we can show you the comparison, the side by side.
Okay.
Anyway, there was that, and then the scene where he comes down through the skylight, where he blows up the roof of the convention center or whatever, falls through and starts fighting those guys.
That was pretty dope. I think maybe my favorite moment of the whole movie is when he goes into that skylight thing, and then that guy has a shotgun and just blows him down. He's just
Batman just gets totally chests a double barrel
point
shotgun.
Blank.
I would be knocked out too, man.
But it's insane because he just took it like a champ, point blank shotgun.
I know. I looked at it. I saw it and I audibly went
ooh. Everyone
I felt that.
I saw it with a group and we all just went oh. What's that Cody Co video where they're like, oh, what the heck? Oh. That was my reaction. So I think the Batman's really good, but it's also interesting. It was interesting seeing the Batman and No Way Home in the same week, because it made me be is the Batman a better movie? Yes. Will I watch No Way Home a lot more? Yes. Because I've seen No Way Home in theaters 3 times. I think that also goes
because No Way Home is shorter.
No Way Home is shorter.
The Batman,
only by 30
it didn't
minutes.
feel like a long 3-hour movie.
No.
But I don't know if I would... it was a great movie, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I would, sit down and watch it again just for fun.
It would be hard to watch at home.
How I watch Weathering with You every now and then for funsies. I don't think I would ever do that with Batman.
The same... that's kind of what I'm thinking. I would watch... we can't compare No Way Home and the Batman, but they're both, big superhero movies in recent times, so we're going to do it. No Way Home... I've seen it in theaters 3 times. I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray so I can watch it again. I will watch that movie until the end of time because I can get consistent enjoyment. I will consistently get enjoyment out of that movie. The Batman is one that I think is a very good movie, but I think it'd be hard to watch at home. Just
yeah, that's fair.
like, even if it's just because of the themes, like that's just not the kind of movie I sit down and watch. But I'm glad I gave it a shot and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah,
there we go.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't gonna go see it. So what else have we been watching outside of these two movies? Because I've been watching a lot of stuff, and I guess we're getting close to an hour. I don't think we'll be a little like 10 or so minutes to an hour or something like that. But do you want me to just say all the stuff I've been watching? Because I've been watching that much, and it won't take me that long to explain it. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I have not had a lot of time to watch shows recently.
This was mainly
I'm
about
on like
the
a
movies.
slow burn. Yeah, I'm on a slow burn with Fire Force and Black Clover right now, which are both anime. But then I have like my weekly stuff like Attack on Titan, which I'm watching. Currently watching My Dress Up Darling, which I know sounds super weird, but it is one of the best slice of life romance anime I've ever watched.
You watched
Just
the
to give
most
you, like,
questionable TV of any person I've ever known.
Here, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis. So the whole point of the show is there's this girl, her name is Marin, and she wants to cosplay, but she can't sew for crap. And then there's this guy named Gojo who can sew for crap. And the whole premise of the show is like he's making her cosplays. But it's super good because they fit so well together, and you won't understand unless you watch the show. Because like
you're watching a show about a Comic-Con couple, and you're saying that it's really good?
No, it is really good. You should sit through with me when I watch one of these episodes.
I'm not here
My
to
reaction
judge.
is so over the top.
I'm not here to judge. I just think that's weird.
No, listen, it's so good because like he's super passionate about like not cosplay, but like she asks him to make this, like she gives him the specifications and they take all the measurements, and yeah, it's an overly fan servicey anime. Like the animators had way too much fun animating this chick's feet. That's all I'm gonna say.
No,
they went.
Turn off the TV.
but it's one scene out of
Time out.
12 episodes. But what really redeems this show for me, aside from like the characters being lovable, they fit super well together. Marin is best girl of the anime season, and no one can tell me otherwise. If you want to fight me again, the DMs are open. Instagram.com/the Nerdiest Podcast. Or if you're on the phone at the Nerdiest Podcast, you can fight me. I'm open for DMs. But what makes it great is she's like, okay, I want to cosplay as this character. And like gives him a very brief rundown of the character. He then proceeds to watch the entire anime that this character is from, so he understands the outfit and how the character would act and all this stuff, and does this really deep research for this cosplay. And she notices that, and like there's all these little nuances that it's really hard to explain, but it's just top tier anime. Low key, depending on how the first season ends, might break my top 10. Like, it's that good.
That's hilarious.
Now, another show that is great, that honestly will probably break my top 10 favorite shows of all time, Arcane. League of Legends Arcane. League of Legends gets a bad rap, gets crapped on, and honestly probably deserves it, not gonna lie. But Arcane is a gift from God, honestly. Like, the character nuances, the animation, the storytelling, the visual storytelling, within like just the animated frame, gift from God, man.
Who sings that song in it?
Imagine Dragons.
Imagine Dragon D's
the intro song for it.
Sorry, I had to get you.
Imagine Dragons does the opening.
Yeah.
For the show Enemy, which such a good song.
You see,
and Arcane won a bunch of awards for like their animation, character writing, I think it was they got animation, direction for an episode, voice acting for an episode. Jinx won for voice acting in an episode, which so deserved. Jeez. Jinx is the best character out of the entire show. So yeah, just a phenomenal show. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend it. You don't have to know anything about League of Legends to watch Arcane, which is another great video game adaptation because you don't have to know anything about the source material to enjoy this show. And, you know, at some point, honestly, I'll probably force Jackson to watch it. I gotta wait for him to finish Demon Slayer first.
It's one of those shows that, like, I know is going to be good because it wins all the awards. You say it's amazing. You haven't really steered me wrong with TV recommendations.
Exactly.
But it's just one of those shows that, like, I'm sure it's amazing, but I don't really want to watch it. Will I watch it someday? Probably. Do I care right now? Not really.
Don't worry. I'll force him to watch it before season 2 comes out.
You see, that's when you should get into shows right before the second season so you can ride that
exactly.
wave.
No, because now I'm on that, like, season 2 wait, and they've already said it's not coming out in 2022. And I'm like, oh,
there you go.
Gonna make me wait? No. Other than that, the last show I watched recently is Zack Stone is going to be famous. I'm not going to spoil it because Jackson hasn't finished it yet. But it has such a good ending. Like, it is, honestly, Bo Burnham's version of The Office. And it's so good. I've never so quickly got invested with a cast of characters than watching that show. Like,
I think, because I've seen...
It's only 12 episodes, and I got hooked.
I've seen about half of it, because it only got one season, and then it got canceled. And I think... because it ran on MTV like a long time ago, and I think that's one of those shows that if it was created today would have flourished. Like it was almost too ahead of its time,
as Bo Burnham usually is.
Amazing.
I missed him.
Is that what's up? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all I got. What about you?
I also have not watched a ton of TV. I've been pretty busy. I did get to see Death on the Nile, which I fell asleep through part of it, but it's because it was on the last day of our Disney trip, and I was exhausted, and the AMC in Disney Springs is so comfortable that I could fall asleep anytime there. They have heated seats. Do you know how good...
Is that new?
Do you know how good heated seats in a movie theater feels after being at Disney for a week? You would have fallen asleep too. So
I probably would have.
So I thought it was good. I thought some of the cast gave more than others. Where, like, I cannot remember his name. The detective guy did so good. Like, he's incredible.
He did good in
And then Gal
Orient Express,
Gadot, I was kind of like, all right, give it a little more effort, girl. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, to be fair, her role, I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Is it? Can I spoil? Can I say spoilers? Has it been out for long enough?
Spoilers for Death on the Nile.
That I could
Skip forward
say?
like 30 seconds if
Yes.
you
Yeah. I mean, come on. She was only in half the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're right. I
feel like she did not have to put in as much effort as some of the other people who did. Also, not gonna lie, I felt like there was one too many.
No, okay. I'm
movie. Am I
so
wrong?
glad you said that. I was gonna say that. The Death on the Nile had me until the very end when she was like, we did it as a team, and I'm like,
why did that was? Wait, didn't 3 people die though?
So
because there was Gal Gadot, and then there was that butler, but she was like the maid lady.
Yeah, and then the guy's
died,
best friend,
and then his best friend died. Okay, cut out the maid lady, and keep the guy's death was really impactful. And it's that very common like murder mystery twist where it's like the killer is bang, and then they die. Like it's like, oh no, if only he'd been alive just a minute longer.
And that had an impact on the detective because he was like, oh, this is personal now. But then like take out the maid lady, and then the couple where the couple that actually planned the whole thing, they didn't need to die. Yeah. So my thoughts on Death on the Nile are it's a good movie, a little too much death on that Nile. Murder on the Orient Express is better.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Sequels are never as good as the original.
No, which is funny because Murder on the Orient Express is not a new thing. It's actually a remake.
Which, what's crazy is the death count in Orient Express is what? The one?
One.
The one guy?
Yeah.
And then Death on the Nile is like
4.
Bet. You want more death? 5. The kill count is 5.
I also felt like
that's such a jump.
It's too much. I also think Death on the Nile was like had this great boat setting and didn't use it until like the second half of the movie, because they were going through like different like desert temples, and I'm like, I get that you're trying to set like the Nile setting, but I'm also like, the boat's super cool. The idea of not being able to leave the boat with all the suspects is why the train was a great idea too.
Exactly, because it's a...
Someone here did it.
It's an organic way.
Yeah.
It's an organic way to trap your cast.
Because it's like, someone here did it.
It works.
No one is safe. And that's really cool. And then when they kept like getting off the boat, I was like, guys, no. That's what I think.
I will say, my last thing about Death on the Nile, I don't believe for a second that guy was not like totally head over heels for Gal Gadot. Because at the end, he's like, well, we planned this together because we're in love. And I'm like, okay, but to an extent, you did, like, you were genuinely in love with her. Because I don't care how great an actor you are, you cannot fake cry over someone's... Which is ironic because, you know, he was an actor faking, like... But in universe, you know.
It was like, all right.
I don't know. It just felt really dumb. It was like, if it would... Honestly, I think it would have been more impactful if she planned all of it by herself.
Yeah.
And it was a solo operation. And instead of the maid dying... well, I guess she couldn't kill the guy because, like...
I think it was a good... I think the whole, like, we did it together was a great twist, and I hadn't seen that maybe ever. But then she shot them both, and it was like, we found out who they were.
Which, of course, death is the easy way out, you know.
In a story, at least.
Whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. So that was good. I'm trying to get back into New Girl. This has been a long, long discussion. I'm getting there. I've been watching more. Also still watching Demon Slayer. We're going to talk about this in the Disney, but we watched 2 episodes of Demon Slayer in line for Rise of the Resistance.
We did.
We're going to do a whole podcast about that. And I wrote down the podcast I've been listening to, but I don't think we have time, and I don't really care. So,
dang. Well, you didn't name the podcast, so it's okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
I will say, Megan told me last night that one of her friends, because I sent her a TikTok audio that was from New Girl, and I was like, oh, out of context spoiler, this will be fine. And before the clip even started, like, she saw the first like caption and she was like, oh, this is from New Girl. And I was like, I thought you were gonna get it based on the voices. And she was like, and I was like, no, come on, tell me, how'd you find out? Like, what do you know?
How do you
and
know?
Apparently her friend spoiled it for her and was like, let me show you this scene that happens. And I was like, really?
That's awful.
Really? How could you?
But I don't.
Despicable,
I don't really care
honestly.
about spoilers, honestly. I did that whole podcast where you broke down the ending of New Girl, and I'm still watching, so.
See, I was hoping you'd forget.
I remember, like,
you were supposed to forget.
I remember, like, one thing. It was...
Just remember that Nick dies.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I remember.
All you need to remember is that Nick died. Actually, the ending of New Girl is actually the same as Death on the Nile.
Oh, okay.
They just copied Death on the Nile. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think I remember his zombie novel becomes real. That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah,
though.
they actually become
and
zombies.
Then it transitions into The Walking Dead, so that's kind of cool. I think it's time to reel it in. Oh no, I can't hear you. Oh no, I can't hear you.
I forgot that I muted my microphone. That was me being an idiot.
Please leave that in.
Nice. So for those of you who do want to dip, reel it in, we are going to go ahead and dip. So thank you for listening today. If you want to stay up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast or on TikTok at the Nerdiest Podcast, doing great things on both of those places. And if you have feedback or a question you want to submit, you can do so through the contact us page on our website. And stay tuned to the Instagram and the podcast because we got some great stuff coming up. I can't say too much
Very
about
excited.
it because it's kind of like it's
in the air.
It's kind of like we've penciled in some stuff, and once we get it like cross the T's and dot the I's and get everything going, then we can make official announcements. But if all goes according to plan, we should have a very special guest next month in April
Question mark?
for the podcast. So don't want to say too much about that, but we should have a very special
Maybe
guest.
a certain
so hopefully
former president. No, I'm just kidding.
President Obama.
What? No, who said that?
Coming on the podcast to talk about the Batman.
If you enjoy what we do here, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Amazon Podcasts, is that a thing? I don't know. I don't care. But also,
it is. Actually.
Really? Oh, that's weird.
Amazon Music.
Oh, okay.
We're on there.
Can I tell my Echo Dot to play our podcast? Wait, I need to try that.
No, low-key, I'm trying that when we turn off the thing.
Okay, anyway, but...
Actually, wait, continue doing the outro. I'm gonna try it right
and word of mouth is the best way for us to grow, so if you have a friend or a family member that you think would like this, please let us know, let them know that we're here, because we're working really hard, and it's really great to see everyone enjoying, seeing those numbers. Is it working? Is it working? Hold on. Thank you for your continued support.
She's playing the live episode from Hollywood.
Listen on your Echo Dots, friends.
Alexa, off.
That's so cool. Okay.
Sorry, that just made my day.
That's so cool. Go listen on your Echo Dots.
That's exciting.
Thank you for listening. If you want to stay for the...
That needs to be a TikTok. Oh my god.
If you're going to stay for the Disney portion, don't touch that dial.
Don't touch that dial,
but
baby.
if you're going to leave,
here.
we'll see you in the next episode. Peace. No, that's you.
Bye.
Peace out.
I
just stole your outro. It's okay.
All right, hold on. Give the people who want to leave, give them a few seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the Disney Spectacular.
The Nerdiest After Show, where we talk about Disney, which is funny because that's an old concept that I'm bringing back. Anyway, we're not going to talk too much about like the day overall.
Yeah.
Because we did talk about like the first half of the day on that bonus podcast episode, which you can listen to now. You don't have to listen to it first, but you should listen to it after this to get a little more context. So after we wrapped that podcast recording, we went over and got in line for Rise of the Resistance because we figured, well, at some point we're going to have to just bite the bullet and do it. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Because the line was not dropping. Like, we were watching it all day. We got early entrance, and it was instantly at, like, 100 minutes. And...
And even by the end of the day, it never dropped below 100.
No.
Which was crazy.
Which is insane. Like, and I think something that everyone told me when I was like, oh, we're going to Disney. Everyone said, oh, if you stay late in the parks, the wait time goes down. That's bull. Do not believe that. It never happened, except for like one or two instances. Like that's not a consistent thing.
Rock and Roller Coaster went from over an hour to under an hour.
It went to 20 minutes that one time, and we went in. But then we got
Tower
out.
of Terror never dropped below 90.
No. So it just depends.
Nothing really ever dropped. Which, I mean, to be fair, like a lot of the rides at Hollywood Studios dropped. It was just the big ones like Slinky, Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster, Rise of the Resistance. Like even Smuggler's Run was down to like a half hour.
Yeah.
Which is, as someone who goes there regularly, that is considered low.
Yeah, that's low. I think.
So.
Yeah. So Rise of the Resistance just kind of hopped in line. We're like, all right, we're gonna do it. And I think waiting in line isn't bad if you have the right crew. Which I had a great time in line. I don't know about you.
We watched what, episodes 4 and 5?
Yeah, of Demon Slayer.
Which is funny because I just pulled out my tripod and I held it on my phone and like put my hat over it so we could kind of see the screen, and just bam, we just watched those 2 episodes because I was like, we don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So
I think you told me. Because I bought a bottle of water right before we got in line. Because I was
you
like...
You get one sip every half hour.
That's what he said. He said, you get one drink every half hour. And then if I took...
Because once you're in line, there's no system of like, I need to pee. Like, can I leave?
You see...
Like, no.
Okay, so you
pee
say
in the bottle.
That. But also... You say that, but also the amount of people that we had to step out of the way for who did that was insane.
I don't want to be that guy though.
I don't
like. I'm not that guy.
I don't want to be that guy, but you're weak. No, I'm just kidding. You can do Disney
Weak
however
bladder.
you want, but
Nah,
I just think
I drink
it's
my
weird.
whole little water bottle empty, because as we like got further on the line, we started talking more, and that's when my throat started getting really dry, and I was just like,
yeah. And it was really bad because I was already recovering from like long COVID and like a throat thing because I hurt myself. No, here's what's funny. I had COVID like a week before we went to Disney World, which kind of worked out because I had the antibodies and I wasn't like freaking out like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sick. But it was weird because all of the congestion I had from that was loosened on roller coasters. And so, like, the rock and roller coaster loosened any of the congestion that was in my chest. And so, like, I was hacking up a lung, and it sounded really bad. But I was like, guys, I'm fine. I promise, I'm not sick. And so...
Disney, it's not COVID, I swear.
Like, I required... Mickey Mouse is going to come break my knees for coming into the park. But...
He's like, how dare you breathe?
But, like, I just needed a lot of water, which was unfortunate because I had to be in that line for 3 hours.
Exactly. Now... I didn't tell you anything about Rise of the Resistance. Like, which you had no, like, all I told him was that the ride starts before you think the ride starts.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to say anything about it. Just tell me your thoughts as we were, like, going through the whole process of the ride.
So, the queue was cool. Even though, like, it was, do I wish the wait was shorter? Yeah, absolutely. Do I have any regrets? No. I think... Rise of the Resistance is one of those experiences that Disney could not have crafted until now. It would not have been near the quality that it is if they tried to make it even a couple years ago. So I think, like, if the wait, no, I don't want to linger on the wait, but it really was a majority part of our day was waiting in that line.
No, it really was. Like, that was a solid 3 hours of our day.
If
standing in that line.
If the line was like 30 minutes to an hour, like, I would have enjoyed it a little more, because by the time you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, I need to like go get a Sprite. I need a snack. Like,
yeah.
But that didn't take away from my enjoyment from the ride that much. I think it's maybe the most immersive thing Disney has ever made that I've experienced, at least. And I understand why it delayed so much after I did it, because I was like, oh my gosh, these are a lot of moving parts. Like, there's a lot of real cast members and a lot of like cars that have to go back into their positions, and like a lot of electrical things that, like, I was blown away by every part of it. And it was so cool.
Even once we got broken out of the cell, which, by the way, this is the most receptive crowd I've ever had on Rise of the Resistance. It was great. I've discovered that my true talent is acting, because we're standing in line, and, like, there's always these stories of, like, you really gotta, like, the First Order people on the ship are super intense. And they were like, take your bags off. And I was, like, intentionally standing in the wrong direction and refusing to take my bag off. But then there were these, like... I want to say they're like 10 or 11 or 12 maybe kids who looked at me and they're like, take your bag off. And I was like, oh, okay, these kids are freaking out. So I take my bag off. And then we go into the cell.
Which I want to say,
I always have this...
I want to say, experiencing rides with kids like that is so funny, because it's just like, because they've never done it. And kids have no filter. They will say whatever they're like. It's so real to them that it just helps. It's just so fun to play along. I just want to say that.
Which I'll speak on this a little bit later, but I'm pretty sure I traumatized a kid on Tower of Terror.
Stay tuned.
my traumatization count goes up every single time I write it. But so we go into like this cell, and there's a button panel in the back of the room. But I was being super interactive with like the thing, and like when Kylo Ren does the Force freeze, I was like, ooh, stiffen up, like this whole thing. And then they left, and I was like, and I just audibly said to everyone in the room, I was like, I don't know why I'm here. I didn't do anything wrong. And then I looked back at the buttons, and I was like, maybe one of these buttons will do something, because I know what happens. So I'm sitting here, I'm pressing the buttons, and I was like, that didn't do it. And I pushed another one, and I was like, ooh, that didn't do it. And then one of the kids came over and pushed a button, and I was like, no, that's the wrong one. And then right as I turned this knob, the walls lit up like because the resistance was coming to like cut the door and break us out. And I was like, there we go. That's the one I was supposed to push. So we go out and we get in this car and what did the lady say? She was like, take off all your hats.
She's like, take off all hats and glasses because the cars go fast.
And I went and I like tightened my hat and shook it down. And she looked at me and went, the vacuum of space does not care if your hat is on backwards. And I was like,
no, she was so intense too.
And I took
the vacuum of space does not care if your hat is on backwards. Store it away.
It's so good.
Like the cast is so good.
The people who do this are very into it. Yeah. And that's what makes it better.
What's so funny about you as a person is you keep to yourself until you're on a Disney ride. And then you become a stand-up comedian. because we're all like Smuggler's Run, and he says the line where he's like, I have complete faith in you, but I'm gonna come with you. And then Nick does this whole
and
like,
then I just go,
loud.
That doesn't sound like
complete faith. And then like everyone laughed.
I audibly
everyone
announced
laughed
to the entire crew. I audibly announced to the entire crew because we got engineer and I didn't want engineer, I wanted pilot. So I told Jackson as we were moving, I was like, I'm not going to fix the ship. So I audibly said at the beginning of the ride, as we're taking off, I announced to the whole crew, I will not be fixing the ship.
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to not fix the ship.
I wish we had a picture.
It was not like, oh, I'm not going to do this.
I wish we had a picture because the score legitimately said 0.
So good.
This man did not press a single button. And I think
I didn't do anything.
Another funny thing on Smuggler's Run was we were on there with like a family of 4. They were all connected, and then we were in the back just being absolute trolls. And this mom was taking a video, and I'm pretty sure I ruined the video, but I did it intentionally. So
I'm the one who ruined the video.
So she's taking a video of the ride, and I just start screaming, like because the ship is moving. She's like, "Oh, guys, we're Smuggler's Run," and I'm just,
what's great is she was filming, and there's this part where you shoot a missile, and it goes dead silent. Like they just turned all the audio off. And it's to blow up the ship, the cargo ship. So after the missile goes, I just go, if I can't have the coaxium, no one can.
It was timed,
and it was so perfectly timed. And I was like, I'm a comedic genius. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I thought the Disney Nick is different. And I want to bring up...
No, I am quite literally built different when I go to Disney.
Bring up the Tower of Terror and how... so there's a scene on the Tower of Terror where you're sitting.
We gotta save that one.
I'll save it.
Because my antics continued when we moved to Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah.
Which, I had said like I wanted to do the sound that's like, oh, that's my boy. Oh no, my boy.
Father help.
And I kept saying it as we were in line, and there was like this small group of like people behind us who thought it was funny because I did it right before it launched. I went, Father help, and it launched, and we were still in line, and they were like, oh, that's very funny. So then we get online in the ride, and it goes back and it does a little click, and then it does a countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and when it went 2, I went skibbity bop, and then it shot forward. And I was like, my comedy was on point that day. I don't know what it was, but it was like unparalleled.
And like that was
and then the
iconic.
second time we wrote it, I did the Father Help, which did not go over as well.
I also want to say on the Rock and Roller Coaster, when it does the sign that's like traffic backed up, you were like, just another day on I-40 or whatever it was.
No, and people started agreeing. I did it was like traffic jam. I was like, that's just another day on I-4.
So
and
funny.
I heard someone in front of me go, oh, that is another day on I-4. And I was like, let's go.
I also love we did the Rock and Roller Coaster twice. It's like my favorite right there.
Yeah.
And it stopped at the end, a little bit before it's supposed to, like it got stuck, and then that's when we just started saying the most outlandish things. Where I was like, man, I love Van Halen. That's what I said on the air.
Panic at the Disco. I love you.
And then we started talking about discussing when they're gonna turn it into the Taylor Swift roller coaster and how it'd be so much better, because everyone is just huge Aerosmith fans. So it's like,
of course,
you just gotta troll them. I also shout out to the little French girl whose restraint wouldn't go up at the end, and she just started screaming.
She was so scared.
She was like, "Mama, mama!" Like she had this thick French accent.
I don't know if she was French. She might have been.
I don't know.
Latina?
I don't know.
Hispanic?
I thought
don't know.
it was French. She looked French.
I was half paying attention.
and the cast member was like, he was like, calm down. He stopped, put it up, and he's like,
calm down.
And then he looked at us and he said, it's not like it's going anywhere. Like,
it's not like it's going anywhere.
So funny. Like Rock and Roller Coaster at 8 p.m. No one cares. It's so funny.
No, that's a scene out of a horror movie where like your restraint gets stuck and then it just keeps going you again, but you die.
Yeah. We call this the final ride.
That's what that is.
I think, yeah.
It's because it's your final ride.
I want to talk about what happened in the line for Runaway Railway, where you accidentally may have spoiled Santa.
So, yeah, I made some interesting comments about Santa. Just for those who are listening, if you know, you know. And we were talking about this very audibly. And
about Santa.
This mom just turned around and just looked at me and said, hey, just a heads up. There are a lot of kids in this line who did not make the same realization you did at 16. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. It was like something that had totally slipped my mind.
Yeah, because
I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not think of this?
Talking about Santa in the line, and then she's like, I can't help but over here. Which, to be fair, we were talking we were talking obnoxiously loud that entire day. So anytime someone said,
it's like that guy who came up to us at the hotel bar who was like, I can't help but over here. But
he's so funny because we were sitting.
He's eavesdropping
by the pool.
On our conversation, very personal conversation.
So we're sitting by the pool because he was waiting for his ride to come back, and I don't think we're sitting by the hotel bar because we were, but we didn't.
Between
we weren't
the
drinking.
Pool and the hotel bar.
And then this guy,
or the pool bar, not the hotel bar.
We had like this hour-long conversation, a very real conversation, and this guy walked by, and he was like, I couldn't help but overhear. And then he said something about like started giving relationship advice on like you should tell a woman that she's stunning because that's something that they never hear and it sells every time. I was like,
it does work. It does work.
And then you tested it out.
I did. As soon as I got home, the first thing I said to Megan on the phone was, hello, dear, you look stunning. And she was like wearing her pajamas or whatever because she was about to go to bed. And I was just like, you look stunning. You look ravishing.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. This is not a situational thing. They're stunning because God made them stunning. Big brain.
Precisely.
She's going to listen to this and be like, oh, you did it.
She's like, oh, that's where you got it from?
You got stunning from the drunk,
and I was like,
drunk pool man.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Yes. Does it matter where it came from?
No. That's funny.
So, to kind of wrap up our Disney Day discussion here, we got to talk about Tower of Terror, which told Jackson nothing about that either, by the way. Except for a bunch of nerdy stuff about why the line was 90 minutes because they were only running half the ride because it's built identically on both sides and blah, 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 blah.
I didn't realize you were an engineer. Like, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I actually designed Tower of Terror.
What?
Okay? Did it open like 30 years ago? Yeah, but I designed it from the womb, okay? So, was I in the womb 30 years ago? No. But I did somehow design it from there. Anyway,
connect the dots.
So I was telling Jackson in line that one of my favorite things to do on Tower of Terror, and this is going to sound terrible, is traumatize kids.
Explain.
But in a fun way. So that like 10 years from now they can say, oh my gosh, my first ride in Tower of Terror was like this, and this is what made it better now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it traumatized me in the moment, but looking back on it now, it's really
awful.
Funny. Because something similar happened to me. Because the first time I rode Tower of Terror, there was this really obnoxious group of teenagers on there who started screaming. It freaked me out. And I never wanted to ride it again. But then I did ride it again, and now it's my favorite ride at Hollywood Studios. So like I have to, pass it on.
Pass the torch.
So we're standing in line, and there was this little blonde kid in front of us, and I was like, darn, he's too far away. I really want to traumatize that kid.
No!
Which sounds so wrong.
Sounds awful.
And he was like, darn, what a shame. And then we get put in the ride, and I look forward, and I was like, oh.
There he is.
And I'm like tapping his arm, like, Jackson, there he is. That's the kid. That's the kid.
What's that thing on TikTok? God. They're like, no, little German boy, don't go in the Tower of Terror.
Don't do it.
Ugh,
So
terrible.
we're like going in the rides going, and like I'm trying to like comedically time, right? So there's a scene where the window shatters.
I need to tell this. I need to tell this. This man, you go up and then like forward a little, and like there's a ghost, and then it's like the window in the distance shatters. This man, full volume, I might add. Who broke my window? Killed.
People laughed. They thought it was funny.
Why that killed? I don't know. I think everyone was really
try
on
it again
edge.
Next time I write it.
Who broke my
See
window?
if that's like.
I think when everyone's
See,
really
here's the
on
thing.
edge, because it's the Tower of Terror, and you're like waiting for something to happen, and then that joke just like breaks the silence, and it's funny.
Right.
There you go.
Now, here's the thing. When it comes to me traumatizing kids on the Tower of Terror, it's kind of like a ebb and flow. It's a double whammy type thing. You got to lure them into a false sense of security that makes it fun. Right?
No.
So you get... Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. Usually, on that first go up, I scream at the top of my lungs. Like, I'm terrified. Like, there's somebody behind me going to kill me. Right? And you freak them out on that first go up. And they're like, oh my God, this is so scary.
And I can
hit
attest.
him with the window.
Then you hit him with the window.
Okay, so my punch is either the window, who broke my window. That's the new one that I'm adding. But usually I go for when you go up again, I don't scream. But as soon as the doors open, I go, this isn't my hotel room. And then that's when you hit them with the double punch of the, oh, you terrified me, but oh, it's okay because the rest of it's funny. Like, this is going to be funny. And then when we're going, like, we lock in the chamber, my next go-to is, there's nothing wrong with this at all. Super sarcastic. And then the answer the next thing changes depending on whether or not you go down or up first. If you go down, it's bloody screaming at the top of your lungs. If you go up, you're like, oh, this is nice. And then you just kind of intermingle based on your crowd.
This man put together a routine for the
You
Tower
can
of Terror.
throw in a goofy scream if you want to do the oh, like, you know, to make it kind of funny but also terrifying. Like, it's really like you kind of got to play to your crowd.
How many times have you ridden the Tower of Terror to where you can put together a routine?
Well, I did ride it 14 times.
I think it's funny.
So.
I think it's funny how, like, you know, some people have.
I'm not psychotic.
Some people are sketch comedians. Some people are stand-up comedians. Some people are improv. This man is a Disney ride comedian. He can only be funny on Disney rides. Otherwise, it is like
I'm literally funny nowhere else. That is
nowhere
true.
else but Disney rides.
That is accurate.
This man, that made it so much more enjoyable. Your ride commentary is legitimately like YouTube worthy.
One day when we go to Magic Kingdom, I have a whole different subset for like Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain Queue, Big Thunder Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean. Listen, you think Tower of Terror is bad? Put me on Haunted Mansion. I will traumatize some kids in the stretching room. Like,
without context.
But you have to be real. The way you have to do it though is you have to make it so that they don't know it's you, right?
Because then you get an angry parent.
Right, because what you don't want, like, you kind of have to, and this is part of like the balancing act of it too, where it's like you don't want to go so far that the kid leaves the ride crying. If they leave the ride crying,
you've gone too far.
Then you know you've gone too far. And I never want to cross that line. Like, if I cross that line, I stop. Mm-hmm. I try to make it like, I say traumatizing, but it's really more like making it more a little more lively,
making it more interactive. Because if we're honest, not a lot of people are just themselves on those rides, which is fine. Right. Like, I don't expect you to be turn into a theater major the second you walk into the Tower of Terror, but like being those people that can enhance the experience, I think, and it's really weird, but like it gives people those memories, and I think that's really funny.
Yeah. I didn't have a confrontation, but I had an angry parent glare after the Haunted Mansion once, because you've been in the stretching room, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like it gets super dark and falls and all that. And one of my like routines for that is either I'll scream with the woman falling, or when she hits the ground, I'll just audibly say, "My bad." Like, or something like that. So one time I did the scream, and when the lights came back on, there was one parent who gave me like the death glare. I did not speak till like we got in our ride vehicle. Like I was silent. I was like, oh, that's the wrath of an angry Disney parent. My bad.
Oh my gosh.
So,
That's
and that was
hilarious.
kind of the wake up to like, you have to temper it.
You gotta,
and like kind of
I think
mess around with
I
it.
think this is the definition of chaotic good.
Yeah. Nope, definitely true.
There you go.
Can we make I Traumatize Kids on Tower of Terror a sticker?
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm gonna call a sticker manufacturer right
right
now.
now.
Hi, can I have I Traumatize Children on the Tower of Terror as a sticker?
You're like,
Thank
not
you.
without the FBI at your door.
I'll get it as a shirt.
I will. Here's the thing. I would get a sticker that said, "Who broke my window?" That is
Yes!
one that I would get.
Who broke my window?
Who broke my window? Or this isn't my hotel room
Oh
is
my
pretty
gosh.
iconic. Honestly.
This isn't my hotel room. We make off-brand
that's-
Disney merch, but it's just based off my commentary.
That's that is like Looney Tunes
Idea?
level like comedy, but for some reason it's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah. So I don't have much more to say because we
I
kind of
don't.
wrapped
It was
our
just
day
an
there. I beat
amazing
you at
day.
Toy Story Mania twice. Just want
Oh,
to put that on the
okay.
record.
Thank you for sharing
Beat
that.
him twice. Just
We still
need to
have
put
we have
that
more
out there.
Disney
Yeah.
content coming out on the TikTok. We made a ton of videos that day. So
I actually just posted one. Today.
I saw that. Wait, today? Hold on.
Yeah,
You need to.
it's
you need to
the
send me
when
the-
you wait in line for Rise of Resistance.
Oh, that's the one that I'm in. Hold on.
Yeah. Jackson is featured very prominently in most of the TikToks because he doesn't know how to operate a phone camera,
Yeah.
which is really weird. For someone who can operate a DSLR camera, you don't know how to operate a phone camera.
Well,
for
I know how to.
TikTok.
I know how to operate a phone camera. I don't know how to operate the TikTok camera.
Ugh, it's not that hard. Jeez.
Anyway.
This is the actual ending of the podcast. Thank you for sticking around this long, listening to our long rant about Disney. Only the real ones will know what Who Broke My Window.
Yeah. So we're gonna
when
post.
that eventually drops as merch.
We're gonna post a design, and it's gonna say "Who broke my window?"
Who broke my
with
window?
the caption, "If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
You better know."
You know. So yeah, that's all we have for you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Out.
Bye.